Hello there, good evening, and welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt, and it's a pleasure to welcome back here to the channel for another special wee uploaded video. As you can see, there's a very familiar face. You're probably fed up of seeing that face up top. It is my bearded brother, my right-hand man, Paddy Boy. And today we are joined by our very special guest, another man who's a lot more familiar to you from Celtic Park, and that is, of course, Mr. Tony Hamilton of the Celtic FC Foundation. Tony, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. I believe you're still in work, so taking your time to speak to us.
It's the middle of the day, but thank you very much indeed for having me. I'm really, really grateful for this. I'm always grateful for an opportunity to talk about Celtic FC Foundation, so thank you for having me on.
Not at all. It's our pleasure. Says the Celtic World Order. We always want to try and get as much things like this out there as we possibly can. Good causes, and particularly the good work that the Celtic Foundation doing for part of the club is massive. It's important, and I think we need to spread the word as much as we can. People know of it, but to hear it directly for yourself, well, you can't say better than that. So thanks for joining us. So, Tony, we shall crack on, as they say, or we say here, let's get down to business. And I just thought we'd start. It would be remiss not to. You're a Celtic man, you're a Celtic fan, you're working in there at the club. I just want to know a wee bit about Tony Hamilton, the fan, first and foremost. I mean, obviously, you've been there, I believe, been at the club since 1994. You've seen a lot of action, you've seen a lot of great teams, and of course, growing up, if you don't mind me saying, you're also a wee bit older than myself, so you'll have seen some fantastic teams there as well. But yourself as a Celtic fan, what would you call your team that you were growing up? What was your icons? Who was your heroes as a fan?
I've told this story before. I actually think I'm older than both of you guys put together, incidentally. But my brother Michael, who was the half-time guy for a number of years after I was the half-time guy, he looks like one of the proclaimers, the third proclaimer. He's a bit older than me, and he brought me here when I was 8 years old in 1975 to see Celtic for the very first time. And it was October. It was against Hibernian, and we were pretty grim at the time. And it was really, really foggy. We were 2-0 down, and the game was abandoned. So that was my first experience of Celtic as a kid. And I've told this story before, but I fell in love with Celtic because I fell in love with Kenny Dalglish. And as a 10-year-old in August 1977, when he left for what was a record transfer fee at the time of £440,000, I was heartbroken, and my mother, God rest her, my mother and father got me a Liverpool top for my Christmas in 1977, and she made a yellow 7 and sewed it onto the back of it.
Nice.
So it was Kenny for me, and then it was Celtic, but it's been Celtic ever since.
And to get a Kenny Dalglish Liverpool shirt, did that take any of the edge of the pain off for a young Tony, or was it just
not at all? It was just. And I'm close to him still. It's a real privilege for me. And he was just a remarkable footballer, and he went on to have an amazing career. But he was the guy that put things in motion for me in terms of this football club.
And in terms of Kenny Dalglish, you said that there, a then record, and it's crazy, isn't it? Of course, that's off the time. But what would a Kenny Dalglish, in your opinion, cost in the current day market, eh?
I mean, it's 50 years ago, and it was a phenomenal amount of money. And if you had £500,000 today, you would have a phenomenal amount of money, I suppose. But in terms of football transfers, it's excuse me, it's a fairly insignificant fee, I would think. But you look at what kind of money's changing hands in England in particular, and you need to think the world's gone ever so slightly mad.
Yeah. Well, you obviously brought yourself in there. You say it's an early introduction to Celtic, and it was Kenny Dalglish that was the man that sort of captivated your young imagination. It's just saying that it's a family thing. You were brought into the fold. That always seems to be the way. We are very much a family-orientated club, and as we often say, you kind of don't have a choice. You are born a Celtic supporter. As soon as you are within the womb, you don't know it, but you are a Celtic supporter. Did you then start to? Did you get into turning up regular at games? Were you a season ticket holder? Did you go with family?
I started coming regularly when I was a sort of younger teenager, and then in the mid-80s, when I was 17 and I could drive, I was working during the week, and I was DJing in nightclubs at night time, and games at the time tended to be 7:30 on a Saturday and 7:30 on a Wednesday and 3 o'clock on a Saturday. So you were kind of fixed. There was none of this
simple times,
4 a.m. stuff that we get now. So I became a member of the car club, which was part of the supporters association just along the road at London Road. And I was a member of the car club for years, and that meant that we, as members, never went on a bus. We went individually, and that suited me because it meant that I could drive to wherever we were playing and then get back to play records at night time. So it worked out well. So I've never really been away in the last 40 years from here, and I've been here, as you say. I came here in 1994 and did a number of different roles at the time.
That's amazing. On that, I just want to touch as well. I used to work with Michael, your brother.
Oh, did you?
He was a DJ in a nightclub that I used to run. So I worked alongside
him. Where was that?
It was in Coatbridge, actually. It was called Shoeless Joe's.
Right.
So I used to work in there, and Michael was the DJ. So I know him really well, actually. That's quite strange. I didn't even put two and two together when I heard your name was Hamilton as well. I didn't think so. That's pretty cool.
He's better Hamilton by some distance, I have to say.
I would never say that. I would never say that. You said there, obviously, about your time coming through Celtic, being in there and getting to go to matches and stuff. What for you is your most memorable match that you attended?
I mean, there are so many. The Invincible Scottish Cup final was a big event for us. Clearly, the significance of it. We had a game the next day. We had a Legends game the next day, and it was Henrik's team against Lubo's team, and we invited both of them to come to Hampden with us, and so Henrik came to the game with us, which was a thrill as well. Obviously, I'd made a couple of Henrik films in my former life here, and we co-wrote the Henrik book recently as well. But it's always special to spend, time. Well done. It's always special to spend time with him, and so he came to the game with us, and Lubo said, "I've got mates coming from Slovakia. Can you just get us a round of golf in Edinburgh?" And so he wanted to go to he went and played golf. So that game and the way it ended, and I love Tom Rogic, and the rain and everything was special. I remember numbers and dates more than I remember people's names, but the 27th of September 1989 we played Partizan Belgrade here. As you know, we won 5-4, but went out, and Darius Jakinovski scored 4 goals, and so 3 months later, my third child, my eldest son, was born, and he's Anthony Darius after Darius Jakinovski. He was born in.
I absolutely love that.
And we had Jackie over for a game, and I got a photograph of the two of them together. So that was a special night as well, because I stood in what we would call the Rangers end here at Celtic Park at the time. That was where I would go for big games. And to stand there, and then fast forward, and he's coming here and he's playing in our game is something special. But there's been so many remarkable matches that we've seen as Celtic supporters over the years that would be impossible to name them all.
Definitely. You come into the club at 94, as we say, and it must be amazing being a fan to eventually get to walk into the club and being employed, be part of the club that you love. It's just so from there, you came in, you think about it, that 94, obviously the 90s, everybody talks about the dreaded 90s, and you've come in at a real transitional point in our club, and a massive period in our club, of course. We then get Fergus that comes in, revolutionises and changes, and it's probably safe to say that, obviously, as is the nature of the beast, when you're trying to re-establish yourself, there's ups and there's downs and there's things like that there, but you've come in at a vital point, a real turning point, and you'll have seen vast change at our club over those seasons. You've seen some great times, you'll have seen some bitterly disappointing times, such as, of course, we've got to say it, the final in Seville, your helicopter Sundays, all that kind of stuff. But that's just part and parcel to being a fan, isn't it? But is there a certain time during your employment there at the club to date, that a certain era, a certain management setup, a certain side that you've really went, wow, this is the best of times that I can remember? Is there any one era since you've been at Celtic that you just felt that everything was on a mega high, where the football was quality, the feeling around the club internally and the fan base, the investment, and maybe the trophies as well to go with it? Because you did mention the trebles.
I suppose there's two ways to look at it. There's what happens on the park and what happens off the park. So on the park, I think Tommy Burns' team, that 94 to 97 period, was hugely important for us. It genuinely was, and it's a cliche, but it was football the Glasgow Celtic way. It was attack, and it was great to watch. And then we had some difficult years. We got out of jail with Wim Jansen in 97, 98. More difficult the following year with Dr. Joe Venglos, and then obviously Kenny and John Barnes never worked out. But the football improved again significantly when Martin O'Neill came. So that 5-year period, for me, seems like the foundation for the Celtic that we have today.
Yeah.
Just in terms of raising the bar, bringing people together, playing good football, always having good players here, and we've seen that go on through. There have been dips, obviously, because it's football, right?
Yeah,
so you could argue that the sort of 9 or 10 months that Tony Mowbray had, for example, was not in line with that. But over the piece, things changed at that time in June 2000 when Martin O'Neill came in. Yeah. And we've had success that, I've got a 17-year-old and he can't believe that the 90s were so bad, because he wasn't born and he doesn't like me talking about it. He saw some great things here, treble after treble, and sort of, domestic dominance. And we are now the preeminent team in this country. And it's crazy how things shift.
Yeah. It's funny because what you said there about you've got young family that have been so used to Celtic winning, isn't it? I think the one thing is, and the message, we always hear that from the players, we always hear that from managers, that you can't even take that for granted. It's just crazy, isn't it? Because we sometimes hear terms of people saying, you young fans, you've never known anything but victory. And then you get someone like yourself that's a lot older than Paddy and I, we're in our 40s, but even so, we've still had a bit of pain. So it must be crazy growing up in this current generation where all you've ever known is win, and win, isn't it?
It's cyclical. I've been speaking to him about it. I've been speaking to my youngest about it, and I'm saying that, Manchester United, for example, have taken a bit of a dip, and I'm sure they'll come back. And it's actually not that long ago since teams like Ipswich and Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest were winning European trophies. And the prospect of that happening anytime soon seems quite remote. But I was trying to say to him, it is cyclical. We're in a period now, which is we are very, very dominant, but we can't take it for granted that we're going to continue to win. You need to work hard at everything that you do. So it's just how it goes.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that before, and it was as if the kind of younger generation of the fan base seem a wee bit entitled. And I know that's quite a kind of silly word to use for it, but it's like they expect so much more. They expect this going in that we're Celtic, we won't get beat, we win the league, we win the treble. It's no bother. But as guys our age are going, oh my God, this is a massive thing. And like we understand it, and I'm sure guys like yourself do as well. So for us, that was a big thing, and we've spoken about it on here so many times.
This is like a Still Games sketch, isn't it? 3 old guys saying, back in my day.
Back in my day, aye.
And I hate saying it. Everybody just says it. You hate saying it, and you don't want to sound patronising, but it's true. And there's people, Paddy and I are at a kind of decent age where we've had an equal amount of pain, but we've managed to see the success as well. I can't imagine what it must be like being like my niece or my nephew who have only ever known Celtic to turn up and do clean sweeps. That is the nature of the beast. But as you say, some people call it expectant, some people call it being entitled. But I suppose the reality is, if that's all you've ever known, it's you're unconditioned, and you just want to keep getting that winning and winning and winning. And we look at last season, for example, bitterly disappointing there. I used that term that usually gets associated with our side of town, but it was because you can't take anything for granted, and it just shows you that you are only as good as your last game, and sometimes you just got to pick yourself back up, and that's what I've done. So on that, Tony, we find ourselves, can you imagine it, after 3 games that we've got a wee buffer of 6 points? Now, I know that that's stuff that's out with our control, but there's worse positions to be in, isn't there, ahead of this massive week?
Absolutely, but I think, again, another cliche, it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's a long, long way to go. We've got 35 league games to go, starting on Sunday. But my approach, and I'm not involved in the football here at all, as a supporter, is to worry about things in chronological order. So my focus is on what happens tomorrow night in Kazakhstan and Almaty, and I watched the manager's media conference earlier, and that's his priority as well. That Sunday will take care of itself when it comes round, but it's all about tomorrow night, because that clearly sets the tone for the rest of the season for us.
I did just watch that, and I thought, it goes without saying, we know the manager's a class act. He's very headstrong. I would honestly say that it was one of the most focused looking interviews I've seen from the manager. He was laser focused on the task in hand. Yeah,
and he's got he just comes across so well. It's no boastful, it's not arrogant. It's just that he's interested in the preparation that he's done for his players. They're focused. They know what it means to play at this level. Everybody wants to be involved throughout the whole football club, wants to be involved at UEFA Champions League level. And that's what he's going to go and try and do tomorrow night. So the rest of it's just noise for him. And I found it actually, I felt a wee bit better after that sort of 13 or 14 minutes.
I think we kind of needed it. Even Callum's interview after the Almaty game, when he said it's in our hands now, we know what we need to do. Yes, he was disappointed. You could see that. Do you know what I mean? It looked like he was about to burst out greeting, but you could see that he had the passion and the desire that he was going to go out there and push that team on. And that, for me, was the wee bit. I kind of looked at that and went, yeah, he knows that's not the result that we wanted, and it's not the result that they wanted. So, yeah, that kind of filled me with a wee bit of passion. I haven't watched Brendan's interview yet, but I will catch up on that. And, fingers crossed we go out there and do a job, early goal, and get them down.
The one thing about football, and particularly European football, is nothing's linear. It's not a straight line from A to B and so on and so forth. There will be dips, there'll be turns in the road and things like that. And yes, as we say, we were disappointed. It wasn't the result that we wanted. It wasn't the performance of the manager, but everyone was honest about that and acknowledged that. Fans acknowledged it, the manager, the players. And as we say, as we looked at that today, absolutely laser focused.
Yeah.
I think at the weekend, that was a good shot in the arm for us as well, because we were able to rotate the team against Livingston, and some guys that came in really showed their worth, showed that they can step up and they can do it, whilst allowing us to rest off the guys who you probably expect to start over in Kazakhstan. As a fan, Tony, looking at it, we can shelve those games previously, but how are you feeling personally? How is your mind as a fan getting in there? Do you think it'll be a comfortable game tomorrow, or do you think we'll need to earn our crust? But is the confidence there for you?
I'm the wrong guy to ask, because I can never ever see past us, no matter who we're playing or where we're playing them. My approach is that we'll win 4-0 at home and 3-0 away every game. So that's me, 4-0 and 3-0. So that's
Tony,
it.
Listen, honestly, see if you get the chance, go back and watch our previous podcast when we're doing pre-match. Every time they come to me and they say, "What's the score going to be, Paddy?" and I go 4-0. If I'm not feeling too confident, it's 3-0 every single time.
Paddy's a
4-0. Yeah, cut for the same cloth.
4-0 for me and 3-0 away from home because it's harder to score 4 goals away.
Well, we want to get ourselves through. Hopefully we do. I am confident. I think we'll need to earn it. But I think with some of the things that are in place, the manager, the focus, the resting, obviously I believe they've also maybe got a couple of suspensions. There'll be injury worry here and there. Yeah. So it is in our hands. But I would rather go into a game knowing exactly what you need to do than that sort of reverse. Some people say it's better to have the second leg at home. But it's much of a muchness for me. But we want to get into that top table again at Champions League. And just on that, before we move on to the stuff around the foundation, what did you think of the new Champions League format? Did you find it a lot more refreshing, where you get the 4 home games, you get the 4 away games, and certainly it played into our hands?
I thought it was great, actually. And I was lucky enough to get to the away games as well. And it was phenomenal, actually. I thought I love the Champions League anyway. I find it when we're in it, when we're not in it, I tend to watch it from start to finish. When we're in it, I tend to stop watching it after we're no longer in it. But I stuck with it this time. And I thought it was great. The whole thing was great. And it was probably, I didn't really feel it was maybe due a major refresh, but it certainly worked. It's really, really worked for me. So well done.
I think people have said there was obviously talk over the years a European league, a Scandinavian league, so on and so forth. When you think about it, this really is European Super League that they were speaking about. This new format, one big league, one-off games against people. We're kind of living in a pseudo-European league, and I think obviously as a club of our stature, that's why you want to be there, because 8 games, 10, and it could have been just bar that.
Yeah.
Unfortunate in Munich, it could have been a wee bit more. That's got to get the sort of the juices flowing for not only the players, the manager, and the people that run the club, because that's where you want to be, isn't it?
It's everybody. It just affects everything here. So supporters, players, everybody else. So tomorrow night is the most important game that we'll play in 2025.
Yeah. Well, Tony, let's get on to what we've got you here for. As we say, Celtic World Order, we're very much like to raise awareness, support any charities that we can, particularly the local thing. But it doesn't get any better than a charity run by the club. And for you as a fan that's been there working since '94, and you've moved through the ranks, you've been in the market and the media, and then you find yourself CEO of the Celtic Foundation, it must be rewarding. It must be a really good feeling to not only be working at the club that you love, but also working in a capacity that is close to your roots as a charitable organisation. How did the foundation start up, and how did your passage into being part of that, and obviously now in running it?
So we had charity, as you know, for a really short period when the football club was formed. From 1887 for about 5 years, it was prominent. Brother Walfred left. He went to London. The school and church that he went to in Underwood Road in the East End, we've got a relationship with them today. And things dipped a wee bit, and they dipped for a long, long time, and they dipped until Fergus came back in. So 30 years ago, next year, Fergus set up what was the Celtic Charity Fund, which 12 years ago became Celtic FC Foundation. So when I look at what other sporting organisations, charitable arms or foundations do, we are unique because it's not manufactured, it's inherent for us, it's who we are as an organisation. The football club was set up to address a specific need, a societal need, and fast forward almost 140 years, and that need has certainly evolved, but it hasn't gone away, it hasn't moved. There's a lot of people within our communities, whether those are in Glasgow or in Ireland or in London or in the international stuff that we do, where life has regressed a wee bit. And that's why the football club, through the charitable arm, Celtic FC Foundation, has a part to play. It's not, we don't talk about corporate social responsibility here or ESG. It's not about headlines for the football club. It's not about football, and it's not about the brand. It's about meaningful change for people. So that's the motivation. Two other things that I need to say: it's a genuine privilege for me to come through the doors here every day. It's a bigger privilege for me to do this work and play a small part in helping those people within our communities. And the second thing is that Celtic FC Foundation is only part of the Celtic charity story. We don't own charity at the football club. There are so many other organisations that do things. You guys do your bit. The supporters clubs do their bit. The supporters association, the Kano Foundation do their bit. The Ultras, the boys, the Green Brigade, the international supporters clubs. There are so many people doing things because it's who we are as a people, if you like, to use some Tommy Burns parlance. It's who we are. It's how we were brought up to do the right thing, to help one another. So Celtic FC Foundation plays a part within that, but we don't have ownership of it, and we don't want to have ownership of it. We want those other organisations to do their bit as well. So that's really, I can talk for days, guys, but I won't.
No, listen, you say as much as you want to say. I think it's important to paint the picture.
That's really how we find ourselves here. And it's important that we do it as long as it's necessary. And that means having to come and put on events like the game we've got coming up Saturday week and other things that we do. But it means that we're coming and asking people to support us all the time. We facilitate it and do the administration and make sure the money's spent, effectively and efficiently. But we rely on others, corporates, sponsors, partners, governments, other private funders, donors, and supporters as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was just bringing that up there in case anybody doesn't know. Charity.celticfc.com will take you directly on the Charity Foundation website. Brilliant. Plenty of detail in there, ways to donate, upcoming events, and it's obviously something that you'll be greatly proud there. As you say, Tony, it's funny because there's still a lot of people that are in need across all cross sections of life, and certainly closer to home. Things you look around Celtic Park, you look around the East End, the Glasgow and the likes, and a lot of things have changed, but there's still poverty and there's still people that are finding it hard to make ends meet behind the scenes inside those houses that we don't see and further afield. And certainly it must be extremely rewarding for yourselves to be able to do that. But also the fact, as you rightly say, is you look at the amount of things that our fan base do. For example, we do the sort of collections that the Green Brigade, the boys have put on. It's phenomenal work. And how do people, if they want to get involved, because I assume that you will take on any help that you can possibly get, you want to tie in?
Because we work with vulnerable groups, so for example, we open the stadium 4 times a week. So it's open this evening between 5 and 7, and people come in. It's a really nice room. They get a lovely meal. It's a nice atmosphere, nice environment. Nobody's judging anybody. They come in and get a meal. If they need signposted onto something else that we do within the foundation or one of our partners do, then we can do that. But we work with a lot of vulnerable people as well. So we tend not to have volunteers in terms of the output, the delivery.
And things like that be required, of course, yeah.
But we maybe have some help and some people donating their time for professional services, for example. We got a lot of businesses that help us with various things. Partners that will give us things or give us time or give us a human resource for a period of time. We use a lot of the club resources here as well. We share a lot of resources here. But we use volunteers to help us fundraise periodically. So we have a collection once a year as part of the Christmas appeal. And we sell badges on the last day of the season, and we use loads of volunteers for that as well. And occasionally we'll use people to help steward events and things. But there's always ways that people can help. And if people have the means and the inclination, they can make a donation, and the details are online. And the next big thing that we're looking at is the Legends match, which, as I said, is coming up a week on Saturday. It's the 6th of September. It's against Manchester United, and I've got the squad here, actually.
I was about to ask you, so can you break us some news then and let us know who
Well,
we can expect?
there's only a few that haven't been announced yet, and they won't be announced for another 2 days, right? But
Okay.
a lot of them have been announced already. So Joe Hart's coming back, Artur Boruc, Charlie Mulgrew, Michael Lustig, Effie Ambrose, Glenn Lovins, Andy Hinkle, Joe Ledley, Stilian Petrov, Mark Crosas, Simon Donnelly, Sean Maloney, and my favourite modern player, if you like, in Tom Rogic is returning from Australia for this. And so what we've done is we've had 5 or maybe 6 or 7 of these games in the last 10 or 12 years. But in the last 2 years, we've tried to have a younger squad that can be competitive because we want to win these games.
Of course.
And we've taken the bones of that squad. We've had Borussia Dortmund here, we've taken that squad to Anfield, we've taken it to Old Trafford, and we are taking it to Rotterdam to play Feyenoord in October as well, at the international break. So I want to win everything that we do, right? We want to raise money and spend it wisely, but I also want to win the football matches. So we've tried to put a squad together that's capable of doing that, and we've got 3 other names to add into that, and we're going to put them out in the next 24, 48 hours.
It's a good
that's
squad.
pretty cool. I think I could maybe put a wee finger on one of them at least. And I could probably ask one of them as well, because we've had another guy on the show who I think might be part of it.
And there might be a fourth, actually. There might be a real big name for us as a fourth, so we'll find out in the next couple of days as well. But we've got the bones. I heard the manager say the day, no excuses about anything, travel or anything. We'll go and win the game tomorrow night. We've got the bones to beat Manchester United as well. So,
what about you in these charity? Obviously, we've seen celebrity involvement and stuff. Has Tony Hamilton ever pulled on the boots at Celtic Park and get yourself out there?
No, I played in a pre-season kickabout in Austria, wearing Tom Boyd's boots in 2002, and broke my fib, my tib, and snapped my cruciate ligament. So,
that's a nightmare out in that.
So that and a lack of ability ended my football career, age 34. So no, I'm not doing that again.
It was probably Tom Boyd's boots. If you had your own boots, it'd have been a different story. Do you know what I mean?
I'm blaming him anyway. I'm definitely blaming him, but no.
I'm sure he took that well.
No, that's not for me.
Well, see, obviously you've mentioned that's the biggest upcoming event, and it's a great cause and some great names there. I'm fully with you. To say sometimes you go these Legends matches, and even though I don't think it's necessarily, or maybe it is tied in when you got like the 5-a-sides and that, sometimes you go, I wish we just put out some of the better guys and win it. A big good day, and certainly there's a lot of guys there. Tom Rogic has a recent.
That's massive for me, actually. I've got 6 kids, and I tell the 6 of them that he's my favourite out of a lot of them. He's just such a star, you know. And it was just I was heartbroken when he left. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
That was emotional. Cool. I remember him getting off. There was genuinely, there's very few times, football will move you in a lot of ways, but even as a big grown man, I've got to admit, I had a wee bit of tear in my eye when I saw him get off the pitch. And, you know, I was going, the last time you're going to see that big, handsome lads running about the pitch.
He scored some wonderful goals, you know, phenomenal goals.
Some important goals as well.
Would you say, obviously, you can't replace truly a Tom Rogic, but would you say, since he went, is there any player in and around the club that you think maybe just reminds you a wee bit of him?
No.
I
thought Matt O'Reilly did a little bit.
There you go.
Did you think Matt O'Reilly was very similar?
I think we've got the potential in one or two that we've got now, actually, to
Benji.
They'll do it their own way, right? You're never going to get another Kenny Dalglish or another Henrik Larsson, but you'll get really, really good players who will be their own. They'll do their own thing for sure. You know, I think we've got real potential here right now in this squad.
Yeah, definitely. Well, to bring it back in with the charity, obviously you've mentioned some of the good things you do, just for you help across various places, not just close to home. And you mentioned the open kitchen at Celtic Park's are phenomenal. That's a great initiative, and that will be making such a difference to so many people. See, with the foundation, just to let us get a wee sort of insight into how you guys operate and how you work, is it whoever's needing, or do people approach you if they need help, or is there any particular organisations or that are like your sort of foundation people that you go to but you help beyond them?
What we do here is we raise a sum of money between the foundation that we have in the UK, and we've got a US foundation that we've had for about 8 years as well. And we work mainly, the foundation's registered in Massachusetts, but we work predominantly in New York. And what we do is we raise a sum of money through those two organisations and deliver our own projects. We deliver between 20 and 23 projects a year. Occasionally, like the Christmas appeal, for example, the last couple of years we've raised £400,000. Half it goes to families, half it goes to other organisations who look after people whose lives are in chaos. So homeless community, women and children in refugees is a club that was born of immigrants. Then that's important. So we play people that we can't get to directly. But we trust partners will do that at Christmas. But in the main, what we do is raise money to deliver our own projects. Now, occasionally there'll be a reason to write a cheque to a third-party charity, like COVID, for example. We raised £2.5 million, and we'd over 100 partners running through that, which was called the Football for Good Fund. And some of those organisations, like the thing we do in the stadium 4 times a week is called Paradise Pit Stop, but we can't do it in other communities, but we fund other people to do that in their own community. So we've got 3 or 4 of them running at the moment as well. But we're not an organisation that writes cheques for other charities in the main. We want to bring change to people through our own offices and through our own initiatives.
And what would you say in your time? Obviously, there's a long time that you've been in your position at the foundation. Is there any, and it's not for self-gratification, certainly not, but has there been any one event or one thing that the foundation have put together or achieved that you've personally been absolutely beaming about, that you think that's a massive achievement, what a real proud moment? Of course, you're proud of all the work you do, but has there been any one initiative or anything that's happened that just hit a bit differently?
I mean, we've got a reasonably small team here. I'm enormously proud of the work that people put in, not just at the foundation, but every aspect of the football club here. Everybody contributes in a meaningful way. I'm actually, if I'm really honest with you, I'm ashamed that we need to do the things that we do, and other third sector organisations need to do the things that we do. But if we don't, there's a gap. So I'm not particularly proud of any of it, if I'm honest with you. But I think we need to make sure that this gap that people have in these communities, in our communities, I was brought up here, doesn't widen any further. So that's the motivation for us.
No, you can't say further than that. And is there any, as I said, obviously we've brought up the main website there, charity.celticfc.com, and you can get all the detail in there. Aside from the Legends match, is there anything else that we can know that is going to be coming up in the pipeline soon?
I mean, before you know it, it'll be the 6th of November, which, as you know, is the club's anniversary. It's the day that we launched the Christmas appeal. So hopefully you'll ask me back on.
Yep, definitely. More than welcome.
To apologise for this appearance, and B, to promote our Christmas appeal. And that'll be the focus for those 6 or 7 weeks leading up to Christmas. Yeah. That consumes a lot of time and a lot of energy here, but that's really, really worthwhile.
Absolutely.
Excellent. The Legends match obviously upcoming. Is there still tickets available on the site for that?
Yeah, I think we're tracking about 25,000 at the moment, so there are loads of tickets available. I'm hoping we get a boost. Celtic fans, I'm one of them, are notoriously lastminute.com, so I'm hoping that things pick up. But listen, that's phenomenal that 25,000 people will come and have given us money to come and watch this group of players. But if we can push that on in the next 12 days or so, that would be phenomenal.
We'll get that good push.
Yeah. And talking about raising money and things that can be done, just want to ask there, just throw out, I don't know if it is something there. As you can see, obviously, get the tops behind you with the foundation on, and it's been adorning the shirt on the patch, on the sleeve, and obviously, as we well know, we play in Europe, we'll use it as a sponsor. We do our Christmas appeal, one example. A big thing that people have always said about the shirts. Now, I know that we're in sponsors and we've got Adidas and Dafabet and things like that, but you do sell the shirts that have the plain and they don't have it on the front. It's been a big question that's been asked for ages, and I just think that personally it would be a no-brainer. Is it something that could possibly happen or be explored, where if someone wants to, like, you can go and you can buy the Champions League patch or you can do Premier League patch on it, that there would be an option for somebody to get the sleeve patch with the money going to the foundation, or even if buying a shirt and having it in the front. Now, I know that people might not want to do that because there's unscrupulous people out there that would maybe try and pass off tops as being worn by players. I understand that, but even like to having it on the front with a different colour scheme, so you know that is just a donation put on the front of the top. Is that something that we could maybe get?
Selling it with the sleeve on it is probably worth us looking at, which we haven't done for a number of years, but not on the front. Dafabet are a fantastic partner for us. They are so generous to us, not just in terms of allowing us to put the logo on when we can't use theirs in European football, but so many other things that they do for us within the football club, and they don't get huge rights here. So they've got a right to have Dafabet on the front of the shirt, and I'm very supportive of that. But to have the exposure from it, especially at that UEFA Champions League audience, is amazing for us. And if we get through and it happens again for us this year, that would be great. But I'm really, really grateful to Dafabet and to the other partners that the football club has, because people support us in so many different ways.
Yeah. No, I just thought I'd ask that. It's something that always goes around, and I know that certainly Paddy says it, and people like, generally speaking, if I buy a shirt, obviously now as a shirt collector, you get the player issue ones, and I buy them, and it's going to have that on it. But I'm a bit of a simplicity guy. I like just the clean hoops. So I would always buy a non-sponsored one. Yeah. But I can guarantee you, and I'm sure I speak for a vast majority of people that will be watching this, I know certainly Paddy, if I had the option to put that on there, and the money going to the foundation, absolutely. I think you'd find that pretty much most supporters would definitely do that.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at that again.
Yeah, well, that's good to see. Well, anyway, listen, don't want to keep you too long. I know you're still at your work, but I want to wrap up as we always like to try and do with some of our guests. So we've spoke about your time as a supporter, your time at the club. I want to throw it at you off the cuff. I'll give you any formation you want. It doesn't matter. You could have 5 holding midfielders, 5 wingers. I don't care. Give me what would be Tony Hamilton's of your generation all-time 11 and a manager to go with it.
Okay, so had I read Paddy's email properly, I would have prepared for this, but I never. So I'm going to go for a 4-4-2 with no wingers, actually, because I've got 4 favourite midfielders, but I'm going to go with only players that I've saw in the flesh. And this is right off the top of my head. I'm going to go with Fraser Foster in goals. I'm going to go with Scotland's greatest fullback, Danny McGrain, at right back. I'll have Roy Aitken, and because he does loads for me and I can't leave him out in case he watches this podcast. I'm going to go with Virgil van Dijk alongside him. And then I was torn. I loved Tosh and the Tosh story and how he got here and what he had gone on in his life at the time, but I'm going to go with KT at left back. Right. My 4 midfielders in any order you like are Scott Brown, Callum McGregor, Paul McStay, and Tom Rogic, obviously. And up front, I've got King Kenny Dalglish and Henrik Larsson.
Wow, what a side!
And a manager. There can only be one manager, and it's the guy that's going to take us through to the UEFA Champions League tomorrow night. It's got to be Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, fair play. I done this not long ago, Tony, and he put me on the spot, and I was the same as you. Josh was one of my favourites growing up. My first ever game was that 5-0 game against Aberdeen when he did an absolute worldie, and he talks about it himself, says it was the best game he ever played. And I was kind of going into that and I'm going, can't see past KT. I really can't. Do you know what I mean? So I was similar to yourself.
He
Obviously
tells a
dodging
great
a wall,
story.
but
Well, she does this after dinner thing, and he tells this story, and he says, you know, when I left Dundee, he said, I could have signed for Liverpool or Real Madrid or Manchester United, but they didn't want to sign me. So
he went to Celtic.
brilliant. He's really, really
love it.
funny, actually. Really funny.
He's one of the characters. Obviously, Paddy was at a night that was put on with one of our other platforms that were supporters with, and they thoroughly enjoyed that, listening to him talk away
He's
there.
great. Actually, I know the whole script off
Aye.
heart, but he's
He's
brilliant.
like a stand-up comedian. He stood up there himself for about half an hour, and he did place in stitches. He really did.
Really
Absolutely brilliant. And I'd said to him, I says, Machiavelli said the best thing you ever done for Celtic was get subbed off for Kid to come on. Obviously, because he scored the
amazing
goal.
story, by the way. Amazing
Aye.
story. That will be 40 years on the 3rd of May next year.
Wow.
Time's flying. Paddy, we weren't even, I don't think we would have been born, or we would have been born, but we would have been hell of unawares of it.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. But listen, Tony, thank you very much. We've almost went an hour there. I know you're still in there at work, but as you say, you're always working. It doesn't matter.
Thanks very much for having me. I've really enjoyed speaking to both of you, and thanks for your support of the foundation.
No, it's been our pleasure there. As we say, once again, if you want to know a wee bit more about the foundation, get yourself over to the page, which I shall just once again show you right here. There we are. You can see the events. It is, of course, charity.celticfc.com. Everything's in there. Who you are, what would they do, how to get involved, any news, and of course, how you can donate if you want to help support the Celtic FC Foundation. Hopefully do that. Tony, once again, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule to come and talk a wee bit about Celtic. More importantly, talk about the good charity work that the foundation are doing there. And of course, we've got a game tomorrow, so I'm hoping that your positivity emanates through, that it goes over there and we get what we want. We're in that Champions League. We get that money. That means more players are coming in and we kick on and a better season ahead. So thanks again, and you will, of course, be welcome back anytime you want.
Thank you.
You've got our contact details. If you want to come on, if you get any upcoming events, give us a shout. We're always happy to help and support those things. So anyway, we'll get out your hair. If everybody's watching this, it is a pre-recorded episode, so if you leave your comments below, we'll always try to get back to them. So till the next time, Paddy, tell them what we always tell them. Until the next time.
Take it easy, guys, and hail, hail.
See you later, and thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.